Good morning, afternoon, evening, night. Welcome back to the Shotgun Thoughts broadcast. When things are going well and working out, it might be because in the end, the world is some way doing your bidding. Sometimes it can be apparently obvious that when things are going bad, you have to focus yourself outwardly. The reason you are enjoying so much success is because you serve the needs of others. And now, in a down slump, your lull of complacency, you're ignoring the needs of others. And in turn, you're suffering the wrath of selfish endeavors. And I think that that's definitely something that's affecting me right now, to be quite honest. There's so much that I've been working my ass off for the last year, really the entire year last year, just going wild, trying to get a lot of things sorted out with my disability and lawyers. There was workers' comp cases, there was lawsuits that I have over really COVID practices and things like that. Really can't talk about too much of that stuff, but anyway, yeah, literally like five different legal different things. One of them workers comp. Three of them were related to COVID law things, and another one being disability. And I mean, very little help going on with that. So I mean, there was a lot of work that I put into getting that done. But also during that time, I was very outwardly focused, trying to really do everything I could to make things right for other people. And obviously, I think I could be doing more. I think I could always be doing a little bit more. That's for sure. At least I feel that way. And I think it's important to feel that way because, again, complacency. You really cannot ever be satisfied with yourself in some way. In some way. I mean, there does have to be satisfaction from the things that you're doing. But at the end of the day, I really think that you should always be trying to better yourself and become a better person and for those around you. For the sake of those around you. As humanity, we really are reliant on each other. And I think that more than ever, it's shown, especially with very dense populations of human beings, whether it be people in a small space or people, a lot of people in a fairly, small area like a city. I think that it's important for sure. And it's why when we look at the smaller level, like on a family unit, when you do have a lot of people that are living together in the same house, it's like chances are they're very close. Things are working out for the most part because there's accountability, at least. There might be things going wrong, but to a large degree, there is accountability. People understand what's happening. There is awareness of things. There isn't so much of what we see in the larger scheme, in the macro level, when you're looking at like New York City, when, there's so much where the people of this city have so much in common. And it's the reason why, even though outsiders, they look at this city and they're like, what is going on in New York? Or, any of this, the stuff that you might see going on here. But as New Yorkers, there is a sense of unity. because we're all going through this craziness together. And there are some outsiders that are New Yorkers in a sense, and it's like, yeah, they're part of us, but they're outsiders, you know. And the people of this city, it's just something where you can feel it. You look at another New Yorker, you just know it. You know it. You got the look, you know. You can't be smiling at nobody outside. Things are very, you know, everybody's got to have a New York grill. You got to be able to. I mean, I'm still laughing a little bit, but you got to be able to mean mug. It's called mean mugging. You got to be able to just grill somebody. You know what I'm saying? Just grill. Not laughing, not laughing. You definitely can't laugh, but you gotta. There's all different types of things. Anyway, the point is though, is that there's a sense of unity between all of us, and it's immediate, and it's there, and that is the case with all of humanity in a sense. Anybody who's basically on the same beaten path, even when you might be going off that beaten path, there are people along for the ride, and you can always pretty much tell who the ones are that are here for the ride and ones who are taking a ride, you know. And it's not to say that you shouldn't help others or anything like that, but my intention is that there are people who are really riding off the backs of others in in more ways than one, because you know it's not just like handouts and stuff like that. It really is that there are different segments of society, you know. It's like the show Fallout 4, which is really a beautiful universe in the case of the writing. The writing is absolutely spectacular in the actual, you know, Fallout 1 and 2 specifically. They're very, very good. And Fallout New Vegas. But anyway, the universe is extremely intricate, and the show does a very good job at portraying that. How there are many different levels to society where, you know, you have the people at the top. They're born into a different class of society, and it lends itself to a different type of thinking. You know, these people, in more ways than one, feel that they're superior and that their judgments are of a grander design than yours are. So it ends up perpetuating a self-destructiveness, or at least for humanity's sake, it ends up perpetuating a destructiveness, because at the end of the day, as long as they're okay, everything's okay. And that's that's not the way that the human race progresses, to be quite honest. I mean, maybe again that's where they see it, where it's like, yes, it is because it's going the way they want it to. But very short-sighted. And then, you know, obviously the large swath of humanity that's just trying to, as I like to say, water our garden. Just trying to water our garden, you know? And there are the ravages that come along with that. Absolutely. You have the protagonist, very naive. In that sense, she comes from the vaults, and, you know, they're taught that they're meant to, like, make the world a better place, as we're taught when we're growing up, you know, make the world a better place. And oh, it's as simple as just following the rules and going along with it and making sure your grand plans can come to fruition, you know, and everything's possible. So, you know, and then she gets a taste of what the actual world is, the real life, the wasteland, that post-apocalyptic, you know, universe that basically is the reality that was caused by the big wigs. But anyway, I don't want to spoil too much in that regard, but anyway, it's really a facsimile of real life. It's not like I'm trying to spoil everything with Fallout here, but the point is that there are different levels of society. And, at the lowest levels, of course, people are just looking to not have to worry about food and water and electricity and, a place to poop and pee and things like that. Those are the basics, running water, etc. But there has to be an acknowledgement with that, with humanity, is that that there are going to be, no matter what we do, unless you want to start actually like changing our human nature with all types of different mutation, whatever you want to do biologically, or if you wanted to do that through some cybernetic route. Either way, you're talking about changing human nature, and something that we need to accept with society is that everything that has happened up to this point is part of our nature. The arenas, the gladiatorial fights, all of that stuff is part of our nature. If we as a society can understand that, like, evil and our animal tendencies are always going to be there, if we can accept that as a society and then go about regulating it in the right way, the same thing that we do with everything else that we do that is legal but is probably not the best thing: tobacco, alcohol, all these different drugs, things that we're taking, these pharmaceuticals and stuff. It's like there are so many things that we do that are bad for us, but we understand that it's a necessary evil to some degree, and we allow it. We just make sure that we teach people about it and we regulate it to some degree. Now, the same thing with that, with human nature on that macro level where, you know, these people at the higher levels, they're always going to want to manipulate society. And they're always going to want to have these games. They're always going to want these red shoe events, whatever the hell these weird things are that they want to go through. These weird rituals, these tendencies that we have as humanity, where no matter what happens, you give us some space, a little bit of time, and we're going to do everything. We're going to do everything. Everything that you can think of, somebody has done it, will do it, or is doing it right now. That's the way it is. If it's humanly possible, somebody is doing that right now, will do it, or has done it. It's just how we are. We explore all those different paths, and then if it's something that's cool, more people follow that path. And it's something that you're really not going to be able to stop. And it's the reason why, like, education about the reality of things and making the right choices, and how maybe not necessarily one path is only the best, but how this path has this about it and this one this about it. And you get to make a better choice about what direction you're actually headed on in life, because so much of what they tell you not to do, it ends up leading you into a path that's even worse. They encourage you in many ways to not be religious, but when you're not religious, then you're extremely susceptible to, like, cult type of behavior and anything that is not rooted in a spirituality, which is more materialistic, and it's usually very, like, those things are darker. Tribalism, believing in these darker entities or material type of possession, anything earthly in that matter. It's always kind of rooted in some twisted thing. You're trying to please the sun god or whatever it might be, and it these things always tend to devolve in their own way. And religion is a more modern construct for the reason that it has always brought people together. It's a new thing that has helped for larger societies to be able to cope with one another at this grand level. All these people in New York and everything like that, we all have a similar culture. We all go through the same things. We all are Americans more than anything. But I mean, yeah, that's another issue entirely. But anyway, there's a lot of things that root many of the people who are in certain areas together. And the more that that is the case, the more that they are a cooperative society that tries to make sure the betterment of the people of as a whole is a sure thing, or at least something that is, working toward that end. And religion, in large part, is a way to do that. And it's something that I think at this point in time, many people should be more aware of. That much of humanity has been chaotic. People murdering each other, doing whatever they wanted. At the best case scenario, it was an eye for an eye. It was I can't, the name is escaping me. It's on the tip of my nips. But anyway, those things kept people in line, and there was a reason for that. Things were pretty crazy, and that was the best they could do. Then they figured out a moral construct that would teach people right and wrong, and you wouldn't have to cut off their hands if they stole something. And that was really the Christian deities. I mean, even Buddhism and Islam. These things all were a new branch that was a revolution spiritually. That it allowed people to have a sense of right and wrong and a sense of community, because everybody in your religion, everybody who follows this belief, now everybody abides by the same rules, and you don't have to know that person. You just need to know that they're here, and because they're here, the land of the rule of the land is that the people believe this thing, and they follow this. And anyway, it all is a self-perpetuance into the fact that this binds people on a larger level, where tribalism does not. Tribalism and these things, this cult-like stuff, believing in all these material possessions, and there's plenty of things that you can want to do, have these inhibitions that you can have as a human being, but it doesn't mean that you need to display them into society constantly. You don't have to have other people believe everything that you do, and you don't have to have all these other things going on. You just need to follow a simple guidance system that everybody else adheres to, a basic foundation. It doesn't have to be Christianity in that sense. It could just be the morals of that, in the way that we believe in the West, that people are free and have all these things. And once again, when you look between the left and the right, at the end of the day, everybody believes in the same thing. 98%, because there's still some of the oddities out there that I think they're just confused at the end of the day. But everybody believes in freedom, prosperity, abundance of, everything that we have, the willpower and the encouragement of all the greatest facets of society. Anyway, the good things. Everybody wants the good things that we have. And I really think that there's not too much that separates the left and the right at the end of the day. It's just all of the minutia, all of the little specific things that people want to bicker about, that really at the end of the day, they don't matter too much. They really don't, because so much of that is not in your face. It's not supposed to be anyway. And I think that it could just be a lot easier if we all just realize that there's so much about ourselves that if we were more if we acknowledged more of that instead of trying to ignore it, dismiss it, change it. It's the reason why the West is as successful as it is. We, not me, but our founders realized that there's a lot of mistakes that humans continue to make, and it's in large part because the entire plan is being directed by one person and the people at the top, one sector, one segment of society, and there's no recourse for that. When most of the time, the people are always able to, the people have the ability to self-correct, and it's with the freedom, with the ability to have the opportunity to do, say, and have all of those different avenues to make things possible. You have an idea, you have something that you want to do, just a thought one day that there are pathways for you to make that happen. And even when you think it might not be possible, the fact that you're able to just get through another day and make yesterday compared to today a better day, or I guess today compared to yesterday a better day, that's a huge objective win at the end of the day, because really most of society, it's just not the case. Most of human history is, it's not the case that you can really prosper in that way, where just the amount of effort that you put into something can net you more on the objective value of what you did. The amount of effort put into it can net you more. In most places, that is not always the case, unless you're doing it for yourself. If you're doing it for yourself, that's a different thing, and it's the reason why, working for yourself is an entirely different aspect, and that's something that comes with a lot more willpower, to be quite honest, because people think that, if only they had the opportunity, but it's not the case, because people think of luck as just a random draw, and it's not. It's not RNG, not random number generation. It's not a roll of the dice. Luck is the fact that when opportunity comes, you're ready for it. You can make that into the best case scenario. And it's something that as a 32-year-old, I know that now. I know that now. I have always asked and always said, I've always asked for luck, and I've always been super unlucky. But when those opportunities came, there were many that I was not ready for because of the overconfidence in myself that I could do anything. It's good in some aspects. It got me to places I wouldn't have gone. But it also made me not see that there were many things I was missing out on because I was also way too cocky. I was, I was foolhardy. I always thought I was a little bit too well off in that sense, like that I knew better. And I think there were many moments where I could have been patient and it would have paid off, and it would have paid off. There would have been the moment where I had my time to shine and all the things that I was saying, and perhaps I was even right about. It would have been my time to put those things into action and really prove myself. But you can't expect at the first moment that you do have the opportunity that you should be able to do everything that you're capable of doing. Sometimes you do have to wait a little bit to be given your chance. But it doesn't mean that you should wait forever. That's where there's definitely a balance in most everything, and that too. And I'm talking about mostly with like jobs. Really, it could be applied to anything, but especially with a job. You do have to feel those things out when you get them, because there's a lot. There's a lot that goes between the interview and then what's going on 6 months later at a place, and that whole in between, it can be a real make or break for what's going to happen for the next few years in your life, and trying to settle that dispute with yourself, even a relationship, that can save you so much time. And then by the time, let's say 3 years from that point of that interview that you thought was going so well, anyway, if you had that better figured out 2 months down the line as compared to 6 months, where you could be in comparison to these different places, it makes a big difference, you know. And I think not getting over enthused about things, you know, it's always better to to I forget what the saying is, but it's to well, I forget everything. Forget everything. There's no point to any of the things I'm saying. But to not underperform, over deliver, under undersell and over deliver. Basically, don't up yourself. Don't talk yourself up to people, you know? But you do have to over deliver in that sense. You know, if you're trying to really sort things out pretty quickly, I think that's a good way too. Is just, you know, find that balance, hit those two extremes, and you can find the balance pretty quick because of the responsiveness to your two extremes in that sense, where it's like, all right, I'm generic, and then when there's a need for you to be not generic, you pull that off, and then you kind of gauge the reception. But you know, you got to feel these things out along the way. Same thing with a relationship, although by all means, I think that you should avoid playing games in a relationship. I think that will only net positive results for sure. Maybe not if you're trying to get some skin at the end of the day, but and I'm not talking about like in a serial killer way. That's a whole different ball game that I'm not up to date with. But you know, if you're trying to play that game, trying to be the Mac Daddy 5,000, that's a whole different ball game. I mean that's I don't know, man. That's devious. That's devious. Because as a man, I just feel like women are vulnerable, and really everything you got to do to get in their pants like that. Unless you're gonna be a player in the right way, where you're actually just being a G, and they're falling for you, and anyway, I don't wanna. I don't even want to bother. I feel like giving giving advice in that respect. I don't know. I don't know. It does harm. It does harm to the women out there, really, because empowering men any more than they already are in regards to women. Yeah, I don't know. It's a dangerous game to play, but you know, the men play that game. Women play it a lot. I mean, women only play mind games, and physical games, and all types of different types of games. So it can be wild. It can be wild, you know. Maybe that's the balance, and I should throw some deets out there to my boys. But anyway, I don't know. I'm going off the schnoggin right now. Look at those trees right there. Beautiful. I actually like to go see those. Those look like they're in like the Sahara or something like that. Looks very dry, but almost like roots. Looks like roots. Anyway, I would highly encourage you to check out Fallout 4. It's actually been really good. Definitely. Sorry, it's not Fallout 4. Fallout the show. Fallout the show, my friends. Fallout the show. I'm talking out of my ears, my ears. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Be back for more. I've been out of it. We're recovering. Lion's mane mushroom, man. Absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. It's wondrous. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned. Thank you.